Good afternoon, guys. It is 3:30 p.m., September 18th, 2017, and that is Eastern Standard Time. All right, first we're going to start with Hurricane Maria, guys. If you can see here where I have this satellite pulled up, I'm going to try to zoom in a little bit here. I want you to look that we have an I formation, very clear to see now. This wasn't that easy to see yesterday, but you can clearly see it here poking up just by the Lesser Antilles. They are getting landfall as we speak, guys, with a Category 3 storm. Maria is no joke. You can see this thing just getting bigger and bigger every hour. Look at the expansion of this storm, guys. These bands are almost hundreds of miles long. So we are dealing with a serious storm here. It's rapidly growing. Guys, I have a lot of people in the comments section from Puerto Rico that are asking about this. And guys, right now, it's just not good news as far as Puerto Rico goes. This track is shown to go directly through the middle of Puerto Rico about Wednesday. Midday Wednesday. I have a timeline pulled up we'll look at. But guys, this thing is expanding so rapidly that we wouldn't be surprised to see this as a Category 5 storm by the time it hits Puerto Rico. I'm expecting this thing to be a Category 4. We're talking in a couple hours, maybe 4 or 5 hours. Don't be surprised if this is raised to a Category 4 storm. It's getting so big, so quick, and it's on a very tight path. Again, we have Jose here. We'll talk about Jose in a second. Here's Maria. We got the remnants of Lee over here. Still just not going away. Lee should have been out here, basically gone by this point. It's kind of just lingering around, sort of like what Jose's going to do once it gets past the area of the eastern tip of Long Island, Connecticut, Massachusetts, that type of thing. All right, so guys, Maria, listen, we are right over Lesser Antilles now. It's going to pass. It looks like a little south of the Leeward Islands, and then guys, Puerto Rico is dead in the path of this thing. And if you can look here, you can see that eye developing, and then we're going to have that eye wall, and it's projected to pass. If you follow my mouse, it's supposed to come this way and literally touch the southeast side of Puerto Rico, and basically cross right over it. So guys, we're talking 48 hours, maybe a little less before this storm is projected to get to there. So guys, people in Puerto Rico, you guys are still picking up debris and stuff from Irma. And guys, that's just more projectiles for this storm. So things that aren't like bolted down, chained down, that's going to be an issue for the people of Puerto Rico. It's not looking great for them, guys. This is a very compact model, very little disagreements in this. The momentum of this storm is bringing it up from the south to the northwest, if you want to call it that, as an angle. And then after that, it says it's going to come up to the west of the Bahamas. And then I'm going to bring you to tropical tidbits, which has changed a little bit. We still have our possibility for the Fujiwara effect, which in reality may actually help the East Coast if it comes to Maria coming up the East Coast, which it really looks like that's what's going to happen, guys, unless we have a drastic change here in the Gulf pressure, which it doesn't look like based on the jet stream. And you guys know I talk about that a lot. Basically, we were talking about how this storm was going to be a race against time as far as our East Coast goes, because we had a low dip in the jet stream, which is making its way from the west to the east into the Atlantic. But the thing is it's not moving that quick. So new models are showing Maria passing the Bahamas and basically getting to this point before the jet stream loop wall. Basically, if you follow my mouse, would be a U this way, and then it would come up here and basically form a wall that would push Maria out into the ocean. Now, some of these models you can see have still have that as a projection, which would be a good thing. That's what we want. We want this to come out and basically do what Jose did. If Maria stays this big, though, it's going to be a lot different than Jose. We have... All right, so here's our timeline is what I wanted to show you. Basically, 8 a.m. Wednesday, it's projected to be just outside the eastern side of Puerto Rico. And if you can see the path here, this is going directly through the middle, guys. And again, I hate to say this, but at the rate this storm is forming, there are no shear winds currently doing anything to this storm. So there's nothing to stop its momentum, nothing to stop its strength. And that's why they are talking about this constantly. The storm every hour is just getting wider and wider. And that eye wall is like perfect. I want to bring you back to that actually because I just checked that out. That is a perfect little eye wall there. This is a very healthy storm. We have our bands in the outer bands. If you see those other lines that are going vertical with the bands, I explained this a couple days ago. This is the sign of a very healthy storm. Guys, this storm is not going to weaken anytime soon, and there's really nothing in its way to stop it. A little bit of interaction with this land may give it a hiccup, but guys, this storm is way too big to be stopped by islands right now. And I'm not trying to get anyone worked up. This is just reality. I'm trying to warn people in Puerto Rico that may not know about this yet. Maybe some of their communication things are down still from Irma. So this is a very serious situation. And also Santo Domingo, guys. Any tiny little shift down in this area could put Santo Domingo right in the path of this storm as well. At the rate it's growing, even if it keeps this path, Santo Domingo will get heavy, heavy coastal stuff going on here. There's no questioning that. That's going to happen regardless of where the storm goes. If it comes up the middle, that would be worse. But the coastlines, the northern coastlines, all should be under heavy watch right now. They have hurricane warnings going on in Puerto Rico, so whatever communication they do have right now, those people are being warned about it. I'm doing the same. Very, very important to keep an eye on this storm, guys. And the thing with it not having anything to stop it is going to be the issue for the East Coast. Now, again, it may come out into the Atlantic. That's what we want. But looking at the jet stream, it doesn't look like it's moving quick enough. And if it doesn't pick up in the next day or two, we're going to be looking at 6, 7, 8 days from now, landfall. Some of the models are showing landfall dead onto North Carolina, possibly, or South Carolina rather. One of the models shows it a little bit lower, hitting the border of Georgia, South Carolina. That's going to put North Carolina in the mix. And if we have any sort of parallel movement where it flattens out, you're going to see warnings in Florida as well. So guys, I'm just getting you prepared for what you're going to be hearing about and seeing in the news. There's no getting around this, guys. This storm has nothing to stop it. It's growing rapidly, and that's why I'm putting this Cat 5 warning. It's not an exaggeration either, guys. This thing has enough space right now to become a Category 5 before it makes a landfall in Puerto Rico. So very, very important to watch this storm. If it keeps this path, we're going to be basically lined up with the Bahamas by 8 a.m. Saturday, and then we could take it from there. By then we'll have better models, but that's how quickly this storm is moving. It's moving pretty fast. What do I have for you here? As far as the Fujiwara effect, let's go over to Tropical Tidbits, and let's look at some stuff here. First, we're going to do the NavGem model. So I'm going to run you through what we have here. Right here is Jose affecting parts of New Jersey. At this point, this would be the 20th. So this is 2 days from now. Let's actually back it up and see what's going on. All right, so right now we're at 984 pressure. That was actually correct. They got that right. And then we move up, and guys, this thing actually drops in pressure by tomorrow, according to this model. Now, yes, they are saying that this will be a light tropical storm. If there's no such thing as a light tropical storm is a tropical storm. But the major worry for Jose here, and I think what people are failing to understand, is that even though we're dealing with a tropical storm and something weakening, the longer it sits here, the longer these coastlines are at risk. And that's what the issue is going to be, is a little bit of storm surge. The channels that go inland may be flooding. The longer this is here, the more issues we're going to have. Even a nor'easter is no joke. Nor'easters come and go, but the length of time that Jose is projected to be in this area is what the issue is. It's not about the strength of the storm coming and going. It's about it just sitting here and lingering and bringing rain and constantly eroding the beaches and stuff like that, guys. I mean, nor'easters take down trees, and we're dealing with power outages, all sorts of stuff. So once again, I think we're getting too used to seeing these Cat 4 and 5 numbers, and then when we get anything lower than that, people are kind of writing it off. But guys, the Northeast is not used to weather like this, especially as it's getting colder. It's going to be soggy, rainy, and we're talking days and days, 5, 6 days of this, and then we may be dealing with Maria coming right up the East Coast. Now, again, some of these models are showing different things, which is why I want to show you them now. There we go. All right, Jose, so it's doing its thing here. Keep an eye on it. So it makes its loop. All models are basically in agreement for at least a tad of a loop. Now, the reason that's changing is because some of the jet stream parts are coming over north of where we're looking at with Jose, and then dipping down and catching those weaker parts of Jose and then dragging it out. You kind of get an idea of that here. That's what we'd like to see. But then again, guys, we don't want to see that because that's going to leave the path open for Maria. Now, what I'm talking about with the Fujiwara effect actually helping us is what I'm going to explain next. But here we go for the NavGem. NavGem has landfall, guys, on the September 25th. Just north of the border of Georgia. So basically landfall South Carolina with a pressure of 965. That could possibly be a category 3 to a 4. One of these models actually shows the pressure when it makes landfall in South Carolina to be 922. Just to give you a comparison to that, guys, Hurricane Andrew was at 926 pressure, 165 miles per hour when it made landfall. I think that was August 24th of that year. So just to give you an idea that some of these models are saying this may be a stronger storm by the time it gets to this particular landfall if the tracks stay this way, because there's nothing in its way to stop it, guys. That's the problem. There's no shear winds coming. We're waiting for that dip in the jet stream. That would bring shear winds, but again, it's moving too slow to really affect Maria at this point. So this, like I said, NavGem. Now we're going to switch over to the European, the ECMWF. And let's see what they have to say. All right, so this is the one that's going to show us the Fujiwara effect. And this is what may help us here. So you see Jose making its dip south. You have Maria still on that same path that we're talking about, already went through Puerto Rico, affecting the areas of Santo Domingo, and now we're passing up towards the Bahamas. So watch this as we move along. Jose moves down, Maria moves up, and they meet basically lined up with the border of North Carolina and Virginia, I'm sorry, and then we have our Fujiwara effect, and what that says to happen, at least for the European model, is Jose is going to move to the inside towards the coast, and then Maria would then warp around the other side, which would actually be a good thing as far as our options go. I mean, it's not good because then that once again brings Jose back into the coast, but then we're dealing with either a weaker Jose, maybe a bit stronger than it was here if it comes south into warm water again and gets recycled. We've been talking about that too. Very important to watch and think about. But then it shows Maria basically staying out into the ocean and then getting picked up by that jet stream that we wanted here days beforehand, if you guys are following. So again, very high thoughts and stuff going into this jet stream in controlling these storms. And that's why I always try to talk about the jet stream. It's one of the key things for the U.S. at least when it comes to these storms. And then it has Maria moving out, and then maybe that could be it for that storm. Now, we're going to go to the GFS, which is in agreement with the NavGem model as far as landfall in South Carolina, guys. So now we have two major models that are calling for a South Carolina, possibly border of Georgia, and even up into North Carolina landfall within the next 7 or 8 days. And look at that pressure, guys. That is 932. And I just told you 926 was Hurricane Andrew. Now watch what the pressure changes to when we get to landfall. Look at this. We are at 917. Again, Andrew, 926 when it made landfall in Florida in August of that year. The year is escaping me right now. I'm really sorry. I don't think it matters for right now. But this is important to look at, guys, because as of this point, Jose has been pulled out and is no longer an issue, which means we won't have that Fujiwara effect to possibly bring Maria out into the ocean. So now, again, these are two major models that are showing landfall. This is actually a North Carolina landfall with the end of it in South Carolina, almost putting Georgia out of the eye area. But still, guys, this is a southeast possible storm. Florida's going to be included with this all the way up into Virginia. Again, if little changes happen down here, this could as easily put areas of the Chesapeake Bay once again all the way up the northeast. This is just the reality of the situation, guys, and this is why I'm always stressing these storms and why we need to watch them early. A lot of people are writing off Jose as just, tropical storm or a nor'easter, no big deal. But we need to remember we're dealing with another major, major hurricane. So there we go, 928 pressure while we make landfall in North Carolina. Again, as a comparison, 165-mile-per-hour winds was Hurricane Andrew at landfall, 926 pressure. So you can imagine if we're in the 920s, anywhere in there, we're looking between 160 and 180 mile per hour winds. And again, this is very warm water. We don't get our cold water until we get here. We still have a very active warm Gulf Stream coming way up the East Coast, which is why Jose's been around so long, and which is also why if we have that Fujiwara effect, or if Jose decides to do that tight loop and move south, it will also pick up strength again. This is just how these storms work, guys. The warm water is their fuel, and that's how they survive. And then the winds around them are what controls them. And there we go. So it's showing almost like a touch and go. It's a little more than that because we're on land for, let's say, the 27th is landfall according to this chart. And then by the 29th, it's going off the coast. So we're talking a 2-day hit. And once we get to this point, we don't know exactly what's going to happen. But this is what we're looking at right now, guys. I'll bring it back again. Again, this is the GFS. GFS has Jose widening. Now, don't get too crazy over how big it looks here. The reason it's doing that is because once it hits those cooler waters, the wind area expands. So there's going to be a higher area of the wind affecting the areas. But again, the pressure is at 967, and I mean, that is grade still for a Category 1 storm. So we're really not out of the woods with Jose yet, guys. We don't know what it's going to do. We don't know what kind of loop it's going to make. We don't know if it's going to get back into the warm water, which is why we're watching it. A lot of people are saying that no problem, it's over, nothing to worry about. And you know what? I would love to be able to just say that to you guys and we don't have to worry about it. But that's not reality right now. This is what we're dealing with. We have an interaction with Maria possibly in the future that we need to watch. And this whole time that we're watching Maria, the entire Northeast is going to be dealing with this weather the whole time. So we're talking 5-6 days of crappy weather, and then Maria comes up, and God knows what this storm is going to do, guys. According to these charts, 917, that is so low that's Category 5 easily right here at this point. So if we have a Category 5 storm while we're next to mid-Florida, guys, this is another Irma, this is another Harvey, another Andrew, another Katrina. This is the type of storm we're dealing with. And I hope my tone isn't really getting people upset. This is because this is the seriousness of this storm. And again, there is nothing in its path to stop it. If you can see where we are right here, all we have right now we are in the Lesser Antilles, and this storm's getting stronger. So these islands did absolutely nothing to slow this storm down. Again, by the time it gets to Puerto Rico, we could be looking at a Cat 5. And once it hits Cat 5, there's nothing else to stop it from being anything less than that. Unless we start getting some shear winds going on, the jet stream picks up and moves. That's what we want to happen. That's what we're hoping to happen. But guys, again, two major models are now showing, not the GFS, again, or no, I'm sorry, the GFS is one of them. The GFS and the NavGem model both have landfall in the southeast. So we need to watch out for that. And then once again, I'll show you the Fujiwara effect. That's going to be the European model, I'm sorry, okay? And we'll take a look at this one more time. There's Jose, makes its loop. And then we have our Fujiwara effect right there, bringing Jose back into the East Coast, more than likely as a weaker storm. Depends on how long it's back in this warm water. And then Maria passing off to the east. That's what we want. So basically, we're hoping for this Fujiwara effect now. At first, it was like this fantasy thing that people were almost laughing at, but now we actually want this to happen. This might save the southeast coast. And there it is. And they're showing Maria moving out to the sea. So, Guys, that's where we're at right now. This is a big, big warning to the people of Puerto Rico. You got to get ready for this storm. It's heading directly for Puerto Rico, right over the dead center of it. Unless something drastic happens, that's what we're going to expect, and that's what we need to start telling people. So if anyone's going to share this video, share it to friends you know in these areas of the world. It's very important. And once we get through Puerto Rico and through Santo Domingo, we could start putting the warnings out for our friends here on the coast. Because, guys, this is what's happening. We need to really set up for this storm. It's a big one. It's getting bigger. And I am not going to be surprised if this thing's a Cat 5 before we get to Puerto Rico. All right? That's where we're at now. Really quick, here's a timeline of Jose, and they have this big, big circle here because all the models, they just don't know what this thing is going to do. They don't know if the jet stream is going to pull it out. So prepare for this. Prepare for this storm to be sitting here, and then we're going to get an interaction with Maria unless we have a drastic change. All right? Guys, that's the update for now. I appreciate you sticking with me. I will have one for the end of the night, and then we will talk again also tomorrow morning. Thank you very much, guys. Take care.